Hello, I'm Gary, and welcome to another episode of Physical Format Rock and Roll, where we talk about all things rock and roll and some classic metal. So, this episode is kind of a little different. It's something that I would call, Does Anybody Like This? I'm just going to go through 3 albums pretty quick that maybe nobody out there owns, but they're 3 albums that I like. And I think maybe they might be worth you checking out. And I'd also like to know, does anybody else have these albums? And what do they think? So, we'll start off here. From 1997, we have Accident of Birth. This is a solo album by Bruce Dickinson. This is produced by Roy Z, who also plays guitar on this album. Roy Z had also worked with Rob Halford on some of his solo material. So Accident of Birth came out while Bruce Dickinson was out of Iron Maiden. He left the band and made a couple of pretty good solo albums while he was gone, including this one, which I think is extremely good. It also has Adrian Smith, who had left Iron Maiden, and he joined up with his buddy Bruce on here. He even has a couple of co-writing credits on here. Now, the music itself is a little bit different than Iron Maiden's. Sometimes the guitar has a almost industrial sound, but not quite there. But it's all really good. This is a good heavy metal album. It's really good as far as Bruce's vocals go. I think this is one of his better sounding records as far as his vocals. I mean, this matches, anything he's done, I think, vocally. It's very strong. It's got some different types of songs. He does like a few slower ones too. But trust me, it really rocks. I don't want you to think at all this is like some kind of folk album or anything like that. Very hard rocking album. A lot of good songs on here. A lot of pretty cool lyrics and stuff. Bruce gets to, be the leader of the band and take over on this, and I think you'll like it. I would recommend maybe check out the song Dark Side of Aquarius. Check that one out, and if that sounds pretty cool to you, maybe you'll want to go get the album. Next up would be from 2002. It's HTP, which is the Hughes Turner Project. That's, of course, Glenn Hughes and Joe Lynn Turner. Joe Lynn Turner, most famous for being in Rainbow for a few albums. He also did a very brief stint in Deep Purple, and he worked with Yngwie Malmsteen, and he's done plenty of solo material. Glenn Hughes, of course, started out, he had Trapeze, and then he went into Deep Purple for a couple of fantastic albums. He did one album with Black Sabbath. It was supposed to be a solo album by Tony Iommi. And then he also worked with Black Country Communion and done plenty of some fantastic solo albums. I'm a fan of both of these guys. Big fan of Glenn Hughes. I think he's a great singer. So I had to check this out. This is the two of them working together. And it has kind of a Rainbow, Deep Purple kind of vibe to it. There's a good mixture of guitar and keyboards. And when I say keyboards, I mean synthesizer and organ. A lot of like Hammond organ mixed in here, like the old Deep Purple stuff. It's also got a few songs that are kind of a little bit funky or a little kind of on the slow, smooth side to go along with the hard-charging rocking songs on here. I really like it. I think it's good. I like both these guys. They ended up making another studio album, and they also did a really cool live album. So this is the first one. It's actually autographed by Mr. Joe Lynn Turner there. I was going to have Glenn Hughes sign it too, but I unfortunately didn't get to meet him when I saw him. Let's see, whatever. Oh, this also has a guest appearance by John Sykes, who, you know, you hardly ever hear from, and Paul Gilbert. So they both make a guest appearance on here. As far as songs on here, I would check out Devil's Road and Ride the Storm to kind of give you an idea of what this sounds like. If you're a fan of Glenn Hughes and you've never heard that, or Joe Lynn Turner, definitely check that one out. And then finally, from 1984, we're going way back now, this is No Tellin' Lies by Zebra. Zebra came out in the 80s, in the early 80s, and this was their second album. The sales weren't nearly as good on this as they anticipated, so you can find this a lot of times if you go into your record stores. You can find this album in the bins somewhere and get it pretty cheap. That's how I got this, because I used to have this on cassette, actually, and kind of wore the cassette out. And when I was looking through albums, I found it. You can see that it used to be one that was in the cutout bin there. For those of you who are a little bit older, you'll remember the cutout bins for vinyl. It's not quite as good as their first album, but I still think it's pretty good. It's got better production than the first album did. A couple clunkers on here, but overall, pretty good album. Now, Randy Jackson, who is the leader of Zebra, the songwriter and vocalist, guitar player. Now his vocals, kind of like a lot of people are with Geddy Lee, his vocals are not for everybody when he does that high falsetto that he does. But if you like that or whatever like that, or you're familiar with maybe the first Zebra album, or if you've never heard of them, I would try to check this out. Go on to YouTube, Spotify, or whatever. Check out the song Bears and No Tellin' Lies. Those are both on this album, and they will give you an idea of kind of the feel that's on this album. So anyway, a short video. That's all I had for this. I just wanted to give you 3 of them. Curious if any of you out there have heard any of these albums. If you're a fan of any of them or not, let me know in the comments. Or do you have similar albums like that you wonder, does anybody else really enjoy these albums like I do? So let us know. Remember, we are also on Twitter and on Facebook, so you can go to either one of those to keep in contact with us and check up on the videos. So my name is Gary. This is Physical Format Rock and Roll, and I will see you down the road.